So you have here a Lancer's helmet, British, and turn of the century, I understand, and it's been in your family for generations?
Yeah, it belonged to my grandfather. It's been in the family for many years.
Now, what did you learn when you brought it in here, and its value?
But I was really surprised. I had no idea of the value, and it's actually worth $1,500 to $2,000. And the other thing that was kind of interesting, they said that although it is British, it was designed in the style of the Polish helmets of the time because they were the premier Lancers of that era. So all the helmets like this are designed in the Polish style. So I thought that was interesting.
Now, it's worth a lot of money. What do you plan to do with it?
I have to keep it. My mom would kill me if I got rid of
Right.
it.
Thank you for sharing it with us. And now let's go into the gallery where our specialists are ready with our very first item.
Virginia, thank you for bringing this wonderful object. What can you tell me about it?
Well, it belonged to my husband when he was a little boy, and when we got married in 1937, he sort of brought it along with him, and I've had it ever since.
Well, it's a wonderful mechanical bank, and as you probably know, this mechanical bank is signed on the base. It has a patent date of 1887, and the bank is called the Mason Hod Carrier Bank, and it's in remarkable condition. Your husband, as a young child, didn't play with it very much.
No, he was very careful about everything.
Well, this mechanical bank, like all mechanical banks, are actually valued on the condition of the paint. And the condition of the paint on this is an absolutely excellent condition. And as we can see, when we push this little lever off to the side here, the Hod carrier dumps the coin in the back of this little structure here, the building structure. And it's still in mechanical condition. It's an excellent, but the overall of the paint itself is in remarkable condition. Do you have any idea of the value of this piece?
Well, I never did until I watched an antique show not long ago, and they appraised it. I was a little bit surprised.
Well, I looked this up in what we call the mechanical bank book, and because of its condition, it would be somewhere between $2,500 to maybe $4,500 as auction value. But if this piece was absolutely in mint condition, I would say that you have maybe as much as $7,000 if the paint was absolutely in mint condition.
Well, that's a surprise. But I'm glad you like it.
Well, I do, very,
because
very much.
I really like it.
And now let's go to our next appraisal.
Oh, well, thank you, Tom, for bringing in this wonderful poster. As you know, it's a original poster for Jesus Christ Superstar to help promote the album, and it was released on Decca Records. Tell me a little bit about how you obtained it.
Well, when I first arrived in Hollywood, I worked in a record store, and as the new albums came in and the old ones went out, I kept the old posters instead of throwing them out, and I'm glad I did.
Oh, yeah, it's a wonderful example from the period. I think it's about 1971 that this was released, and it features the original Broadway cast from, obviously, the very successful musical. The artwork on it is very nice, and it's done by an artist with the last name of Bird, and he was fairly well known in the period, did a lot of other posters as well, and the detail and the colorations are actually quite nice on this. The condition on it is also very nice. You've kept it in very nice condition over the last 27 years. Have you ever had it evaluated for appraisal purposes?
No, I never have.
Okay. Well, based on other posters and things that we've sold over the years, I would probably estimate it in the $300 to $500 range as an auction estimate if you ever did decide to sell it. And, you know, again, that's based on the condition and the artwork and everything. And it's a very nice example.
Great, wow.
I appreciate you bringing it in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just because two paintings look alike and they're by the same artist doesn't mean they have similar values. We'll show you why. And we'll find out what Jim the Garbage Man found this week when we come back.
Add a touch of personality and panache to your next get-together. Watch Savoir Faire today at 1:30 Eastern on HGTV Daytime.
It's no fun to itch. That's why Owens Corning created Miraflex Insulation. It's made with a revolutionary fiber that's virtually itch-free. So it not only saves on fuel bills, it's more comfortable to handle and install. Use Miraflex Insulation because life is better when you don't itch. For a free sample of Miraflex Fiber, call 1-800-GET-PINK.
Welcome to HGTV's exciting new season of specials.
First, tour the private chambers of Hollywood's Halloween homes. Then, join us at Sotheby's, New York for the Windsor Auction, Treasures of a Royal Romance. And it's unlike any flea market you've ever visited. Journey to the City of Romance when we take you on location to the Paris Flea Market.
New specials every week, all this fall on HGTV, Home and Garden Television.
If you own a painting, one of the best ways to find out the value is to look it up in a book or maybe the internet. But be warned, it doesn't always give you an accurate appraisal. Here to tell us why is American painting specialist Scott Levitt. Now, we have two paintings here by the same artist, but looking at both of them, we can tell right away they're very different, aren't they?
That's right. These are both works by an artist by the name of Thomas Hill. And he worked in Northern California around the turn of the century. And they're both of Nevada Falls, which is a famous landmark in Yosemite Valley in Northern California. The painting on the left is far more sketchy.
Almost like a study.
Yeah, almost like a study, as opposed to the one on the right, which has quite a bit more detail, more color, a bit more, for the average painting enthusiast, a bit more interesting, quite frankly, in visual appeal.
Is this something that commonly happens, that artists will paint the same subject many, many times?
Yes, it was very popular for financial reasons. Certain subject matters become very popular with buyers, and painting dealers have found and had found through the years that certain subject matters were more easily sold than other subject matters, and in this case, Yosemite was one of the most common subjects of Thomas Hill.
Now, I mentioned looking up a painting in a book, and if we did so, it might describe this very painting, maybe even have a photograph, but it may not actually accurately reflect how much it's worth. How much would you say the one on the left would be valued at?
We estimate it for auction at approximately $7,000 to $10,000.
And the painting on the right?
We expect it should bring somewhere around $15,000.
The other thing that astute viewers will see is that the signatures on these two paintings are very different. Is that another thing you look for?
Yes. In this particular case, it could throw you because most of his signatures slant to the left, as he was left-handed, and the one on the right is slanted to the right. I don't have any magic explanation for that. In fact, if anything, it could throw you and make you think that it was a forged painting, but fortunately to the trained eye, if you've seen enough Thomas Hill works, you know that it is in fact his work.
Well, they're both very different, but both very beautiful. Thanks a lot, Scott.
What some people toss in the trash could be a very valuable treasure, and no one knows that better than Jim, our garbage man. He's brought in another trinket from the trash to be appraised.
Welcome back, Jim. Where did you get this charming lamp?
I found this in the East Bay at a cleanup. I was at on a Saturday, and people were, you know how they're allowed to put up anything out on the street, and we go by and pick up anything they put out. And this was sitting in a box, all wrapped up, and it seems like it's in pretty good condition. There's a couple of flaws on it, but otherwise it's in pretty good condition, it looks like.
It is in good condition. They didn't want it anymore, I gather.
I assume so. Maybe they were changing their decor or something. I wouldn't know.
Do you know anything about it?
No, I don't know anything about it. I didn't know if it was actually old or not, because I noticed they put a new there's a cord with a switch on it, and it doesn't seem like it matches the lamp very well.
No, that is a later electrification to upgrade it. But what's interesting about it, why that doesn't seem to fit, and you notice it's a little crooked,
yeah,
little bent, that might be why they might have gotten rid of it. What this is what they call a marriage. What you have here is a lampshade from about 1900 to 1910. They call this glass slag glass for a lot of reasons. This was sort of the step down from the fine Tiffany leaded stained glass, because they would cast these panels and they would be pierced and they would imitate the the leaded glass lamps and still give the effect coming through. So that's what this is right here. However, from here down is later. So somebody found this shade and looked around to find probably a modern lamp that they adapted to be made into it, and it never quite fit. But still, you've got a shade from the early 20th century in excellent condition. These panels are often cracked.
And it matches pretty well. The shade looks similar to the base, so
Same
it's a good
color,
match.
same coloring. They used a patented brass to match this coloration here. Do you have any idea what it's worth?
I have no idea.
Well, being that it's a marriage, what you're valuing is the shade, not so much the lamp. But a shade like this is probably, you're looking worth about $150 to $200.
That's nice. I'm surprised. Like I say, with it being off-center and a couple flaws, and I'm surprised it's worth that much.
It wasn't worth throwing away just because it was off-center, that's for
yeah,
sure.
right. I'm glad I found it. Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you for bringing it. This is nice.
Thanks.
And now let's go to our next appraisal.
Richard, welcome to Appraisal Day here at Butterfield and Butterfield in San Francisco.
Thank you.
You brought a very interesting powder horn with you, and I wondered what you could tell me about it, namely where did you come by it, and a little history behind it.
Well, I received it from my grandmother after my grandfather passed away, and
where was she?
She was in Camino, California.
In Camino, California,
right.
All right.
And it's a powder horn from Uriah Spalding, who is mentioned in my family history here in this book. He was at the Battle of Bunker Hill, or Breed's Hill, and he also was at the battle with Arnold at Saratoga.
Well, I noticed the horn is nicely scrimshawed and has a picture of a ship. Do you know what the significance of these different scenes are on the horn, such as the ship?
Well,
I see his name and date.
Right. It also mentions Roxbury, and Roxbury is a place that is part of the Battle of Bunker Hill. General Gage, in order to go around to get the people who had put themselves entrenched at Breed's Hill, was sent a group around to Roxbury to try to get in behind them.
Interesting. So this horn actually tells the story of his exploits then in the Revolutionary War.
Right.
Do you have any idea what this piece is worth?
No idea.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about it. It's very interesting that it's an unusual revolutionary horn. We seldom find these extensions of copper. It's beautifully patinaed, and obviously it's absolutely correct. There's a lot of fakes in these horns that you have to watch out for. People have gotten horns and falsely scrimshawed them, but this is absolutely real, and it's a wonderful piece of American history. The very fact that you are so well documented and passed down through your family, and I believe it's even mentioned in this Spalding history book. I believe this horn would sell in the neighborhood of anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000 or more at auction.
That's good.
It's a wonderful piece of American history, and I thank you for bringing it in.
Well, thank you.
Coming up next, old garden ornaments can add beauty to your backyard. They can also be very valuable. We'll show you why when we come back.
Homefront Live is a community TV forum for airing topics of importance in our towns. Charter Communications invites you to join us Tuesdays in September and October when Homefront Live will feature candidates for office from your area. This is a great chance to call in and speak directly with tomorrow's leaders. Look for Homefront Live on Charter Communications, ATV 21.
Classic, elegant, sophisticated, romantic. The way you light a room can truly say a lot about the mood of that room. Celebrate the beauty of your home with lighting from Dent Electric. At Dent, our fixtures provide you with illumination, but our trained staff provide you with enlightenment. Dent Electric, one bright idea after another.
Step into a clean shower every day without cleaning your shower again. Try Tilex Fresh Shower. After your shower, spray a light mist. Don't scrub or rinse. Try Tilex Fresh Shower and you'll never have to clean your shower again.
You know, I can put this floor in.
You, the man who permanently shut the garage door?
Armstrong says it's easy.
The colors and patterns are beautiful. Are you sure about this?
Just peel off the paper and stick it down. Because it's Armstrong, it'll last for years.
I'm impressed.
It's easy.
With Armstrong, it's easy to get the look you want and keep it that way.
Available at Lowe's and other fine home improvement centers nationwide.
Got a clog? Get the best clog remover. Is it Liquid Plumber or Drano? Actually, professional strength Liquid Plumber clog remover works twice as fast. Yes, there is a best.
Put your heart rate in the zone.
Cover miles without leaving home.
Trim down, firm up.
Treadmills from Sears, starting at just $3.99. No other indoor exercise equipment burns calories faster, and no one sells more treadmills than Sears. A great time to buy is now, during our special sale. Sears is America's #1 fitness store. We give you better value, more choices, the top names, the newest models. Treadmills that keep you going with pre-programmed routines. Treadmills that lower impact with cushioning platforms. And push you harder with power incline. Check your heart rate, distance, calories burned. Fitness fits your life better than ever with Sears, where satisfaction's guaranteed. Call now for the store nearest you, where you'll find all treadmills on sale Thursday through Saturday.
A walk is just a walk, but a treadmill's a workout.
Antique garden ornaments such as columns, statues, or gazebos not only bring beauty to the backyard, they can also add value. Here with a few examples is Pierce McKenzie, decorative arts specialist. Now, you tell me, Pierce, that, well, garden ornaments are really popular these days.
Yes, they've been increasingly popular over the last, in this country, over at least the last decade or 15 years. And I think it's because people come to realize that your garden is really an extension of the house, and it deserves as much consideration as the interior of your house.
Absolutely. Now, you've brought two pieces here. What about this particular piece?
This is one of a set of 4 French terracottas of musical infants, which are designed to be raised on plinths, and you place them along the hedge or to define a border. Now, this is 20th century, but in fact, at one time I think it was painted and then scrubbed. With the result, it has a great look of age on it, and that's what people pay for.
And this is a set of 4?
And this is a set of 4, and at auction I'd expect them to bring probably between $4,000 and $6,000.
Wow. And this particular item right here?
Now, this again is French. This is a pair of cast iron urns, dated right here.
I see it, 1881.
And on the other side, displaying the arms of the newly established French Republic. It's not common to have French cast iron dated. Sometimes you'll find examples with a plaque with the maker's name and so on and so forth. But this is very unusual. The other interesting thing about this is it's A, it's genuinely old, B, it's a very unusual model, C, it's extremely well cast, and the crispness of the laurel here on the front and the lion's heads is really quite well done. And as I say, it's a model which I hadn't seen before, and we find that unusual garden ornaments, anything unusual, has a premium and tends to bring more money.
And this is part of a pair, so the pair would be valued at?
At $2,000 to $3,000.
All right. Thank you very much. We've been enlightened about garden ornaments, antique ones too.
Yes, it's part of my mission.
Now let's go to another appraisal.
Mr. McIntosh, you brought us a very interesting Colt single-action Army revolver. Could you tell us about how you got it?
I bought that in a yard sale up in Northern California. It was actually brought out during the yard sale. It wasn't actually laying out on a table. Mm-hmm. And we had a little discussion, and the gentleman set a price, and I bought it from him.
Oh, interesting. Do you know anything about the gun?
Vaguely. I knew a little bit about it. I know it's a Colt.
Right.
And the Colts are quite collectible, and that's what I do. I collect things.
Right.
So that's what led me into buying it. I'm hoping to make a couple bucks.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is what you would call an artillery model. It was purchased by the U.S. government originally, probably in the 1870s. You can see here, typically for the artillery model, you have mixed serial numbers. That because when they sent it back to the factory, they shortened the barrel and they mixed the parts up. As you can see, the earliest part here is numbered 951, which is a very early gun. Would have been made in the early 1870s. And when they redid the gun, of course, they nickel-plated it, or possibly it was nickel-plated by somebody privately later. And that's why the markings are very worn. How much did you pay for the gun?
I paid $200.
$200, and have you had any idea what it's worth?
I'm going to guess it's worth over $1,000.
Over $1,000 would be right. In this condition, this gun is worth approximately $2,000.
Wow, I'm thrilled.
Great.
Now it's your turn to appraise it. What would you guess the value of this pitcher is? It's a Chinese porcelain pitcher with a gilt bronze mounted handle. It's made in the late 19th century in the Louis XV style. We'll tell you the appraised value when we return.
Tomorrow at noon, it's HGTV's exciting hour of appraisals and antiques. Beginning at 12, Appraise It reveals the value and history of your antiques and heirlooms, plus how to tell a real from a fake.
Quickly, the values on each one?
This is estimated at $1,000 to $1,500, and this has virtually no value.
Then at 12:30, at the auction, bids on rare and unusual pieces. Don't miss HGTV's exciting hour of appraisals and antiques. Tomorrow at noon on HGTV Daytime.
Oh, dammi una casa dove il buffalo gira, dove I cervi stanno a giocar. Non si sentano mai una brutta parola e il cielo non fa oscuro mai.
Lincoln Navigator. What a luxury. Should be.
Marie is finally someone I can bring home to Mama.
Meet Marie Callender's Dinners and Entrees.
Treats me the way Mama always treated her baby.
Made with Marie's personal touches, like burgundy wine sauce over beef tips and toasted breadcrumb seasoning sprinkled on chunky chicken.
Truth is, Marie kind of reminds me of Mama. And I love my mama.
Marie Callender's. You'll find her in the freezer section.
For me, there's only Marie.
I'm Mariette Hartley, here to tell you the factory's on sale.
That's right, Mariette. The entire Premier Blind Factory's on sale with the lowest prices ever offered. Minis are on sale for as low as $14.95. The lowest prices on custom minis ever. And for the first time, Premier's verticals are on sale for as low as $29.95. The lowest prices in our history. But the biggest news? Premier's gorgeous New Forest blinds are on sale for as low as $29.95. These amazing New Forest wood look-alike blinds look so much like real wood, you can't tell the difference from 6 inches away. New Forest blinds on sale now, starting at just $29.95, and it's easy to order. Just call 1-800-BLINDS-1, and Premier's operators will send you our free catalog. Plus, we'll ship your custom blinds absolutely free.
So, call 1-800-BLINDS-1 right now. The Premier Blind Factory. Only a real factory can sell blinds this low.
Nobody does it better.
I'm a little nervous. It's your first day, Bleach Free. Well, what happens now? We'll both get stain fighters and then brighteners for colors. Ooh. But first, you get special enzymes instead of bleach, because you're bleach free. Ooh, I like it.
Introducing new Bleach Free Clorox 2, a bleach free breakthrough that works with special enzymes to remove stains and keep colors bright.
Get ready, colors. Here I come. Welcome to the family, Bleach Free.
New Bleach Free Clorox 2.
Resources about today's episode may be available by calling 423-694-7879, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, or visit our website at www.hgtv.com.
So how did you appraise it? If you guessed that this Louis XV style Chinese porcelain pitcher made in the late 19th century is valued at $1,500 to $2,000, you are correct.
Every once in a while, we stumble upon an item that is truly extraordinary. Such is the case today, where we literally have a piece of history. Book and manuscript expert Gregory Shaw is here to tell us all about it. Now, the first thing I thought when I saw this is clearly it's about Abraham Lincoln. Then I looked closer and I realized that that is a piece or a tuft of Lincoln's hair. How did this come to be in someone's possession?
This is a fascinating story. What happened was April 14th, 1865, we all know that Lincoln was shot by John Wilkes Booth at Ford's Theater. They took him across the street to the Peterson House and started to try to resuscitate the president. Dr. Lyman Beecher Todd was present there. He had just received this telegram at 11 p.m., April 14th, 1865, military telegraph. Put it in his pocket, heard Lincoln is shot. He goes to the room where they had taken Lincoln and waits until the morning when Lincoln dies, sadly, okay? So what happens is, in the post-mortem, they removed this large clump, basically, of Lincoln's hair with blood on it and so forth from his deathbed. I guess Todd reaches into his left pocket, pulls out this telegram. The only thing he has, you know, he slaps in the hair and closes it. And you see the smear of the blood here and the stamp and the official military telegraph. It's perfect.
A bit grisly for some people, maybe, but truly, as I said, a piece of history and very interesting to history buffs. What would something like this be worth?
I've estimated it at $10,000 to $15,000, but truly there is no way to decide what it is worth.
Well, I think it's one of the most interesting pieces that we've had on the show so far. Thanks a lot, Gregory.
Thank you.
And that's it for Appraise It. Jan?
That's it for today. As we leave you, let's take another look at today's precious items on Appraise It.
Join Matt and Sherry for the first in our Dream Home series on Room by Room, then on Decorating Sense. It's a master bedroom update for under $500. It's all part of Design at 9, tonight, only on Home and Garden Television.
Collection. Some new, but most are over 100 years old. As we sat down to talk, I asked him, if you're looking for a quilt, how do you know a quality one?
Look for the stitches. The better the stitching, probably the better the quilt. Look for a quilt that's got good colors. They're still strong and bright. Look for a quilt that appeals to you. Buying a red and green quilt, if you've got a room that needs a brown quilt, is not a good buy, no matter how great that red and green quilt is. Usually you'll find that the quilts that you're looking for are going to speak to you. You're going to find a quilt, it's going to say, I want to go home with you, and that's probably the one you ought to buy.
How much is a good quilt going to cost?
I think that you should probably think that you're probably going to spend at least $300, and you might spend as much as $3,000.
Tell me the story of you and your first quilt.
The first quilt that my wife and I bought was down in southern Colorado. We bought a log cabin quilt. We had $150 to our name, and it was $125. And we paid the lady the $125 and then came home from southern Colorado basically on an Amoco credit card and a lot of prayer.
What made you buy that quilt for all that money?
Exactly what I tell people every time. It spoke to me. If the quilt speaks to you, you're very, very foolish to walk away from it because it's going to haunt you.
Next, Bill and I headed out to the backyard to see his display of quilts.
I love the colors on this quilt. Now you're saying that this is very desirable.
This is an 1880s crib quilt, and crib quilts, because of their very size, are very desirable because they don't take up a lot of room. People can find a wall to put them on. People can display them in a lot of different ways that they can't a full-size quilt. You know, you need a pretty good sized room for a full-size quilt to be hung on the wall.
So people like to decorate with these.
But these are real decorators' friends. And to find an early one is hard to do these days because crib quilts are, by their very nature, destroyed. Children drag them around.
Drag them around.
That's right. You know, Linus is true. He drags them around, and that's exactly what happens to crib quilts. They are worn out and dead by the time they get out of the family. So it's unusual to find an 1880s one like this.
Now what's this?
This is a crazy quilt.
A crazy quilt?
Yes, and it's from the 1890s, 1880s, late 1880s, early 1890s. In fact, it's dated 1883, so I can cheat a little bit on it. What a crazy quilt was a brag quilt, the quilt that you put in your living room so you told people that you had a lot of money and that you were accomplished seamstress. The goal was to use over 150 different stitches in it to show that you could paint, to show that you could do stump work, fancy work like this. And they were basically city quilts. Most of the quilts that we've been looking at up to this point were rural quilts or city quilts, but probably rural quilts, quilts that were made on the farms, quilts that were made in an agrarian economy. This quilt was probably made in a city, and because of that, we have different materials. We have silks, we have velvets, we have things that are much more luxurious looking than we did on the earlier quilts that we've been talking about.
And why crazy quilt?
Because the pattern is kind of a crazy, you know, we got a piece here and a piece there that isn't the same size. And
Now this quilt has a lot of names on it. This must mean that it was made by a lot of people.
It was probably a subscription quilt. It was done for a reason, like maybe they were going to build a new wing to the church or something. It was made in Hudson, South Dakota for the Congregational Church. What happened with a lot of these kind of quilts is that you would buy your name put on it.
And then the money would...
And then the money would go to the church, and then they would auction the quilt off, and the money would then also go to the church.
Now,
or it would end up going to the minister's wife.
To the minister's wife?
Sure. Minister's wives got all kinds of quilts.
Oh, the quilt itself went to it, not the money.
No.
I got it.
The quilt.
Now this quilt was made probably by a lot of people?
It might have been made by more than one person. It certainly has more than one quilter in it. It was probably laid out by a church quilting group. The problem with lots of these quilts is that you can tell the difference in the stitching, and that tells you how many different people were on it. Take a look at this leaf. You see how
right here.
How bad the stitches are, how they skip around. The leaf right here next to it has pretty good stitching. They're pretty even. They're small. Probably two different people did the stitches.
So this lady was drummed out of the quilting bee the next year.
She wasn't quite as good as.
Quilts can also teach us a lot about history. This is called a feed sack quilt. In the 1920s and 30s, quilts were made from free feed bags at the feed store. Women chose their feed sack material according to the colors and patterns they wanted to sew their quilts and dresses with. And this quilt is a vegetable-dyed pre-Civil War quilt. Quilts like this were shipped to the troops and used as bedding in the fields. It's no wonder there aren't many of these quilts left. Most never made it back in usable condition. We couldn't let Bill go without asking him where he finds his quilts.
All over the country. I buy in every part of the country. I buy anonymously. I buy from auctions. I buy from shops. I don't buy family quilts.
Why?
So if you wanted to bring me your aunt's quilt, I'd try and talk you out of selling it. I don't believe that quilts should come out of the families. I really believe that they're a unique art form. Most families can't say that they know of anything that their parents or grandparents or great-grandparents really made. This is one thing that they often can, and I think that they should stay in the family. Surely there must be a niece or a nephew who would appreciate it more than I would even.
Isn't that fun to learn about what was going on in history through a quilt? Well, now, I think most families have a quilt. For instance, this one says Dorothy 1930 on it. So I know this was made for my mother in 1930, but she doesn't even know who made it for her or for what reason. So Bill suggests that you take a piece of white cotton sheeting and just sew it to the back of your quilts and put on it some history about who made the quilt and for whom, and even maybe some stories about your family so that future generations will know the quilt's history. What a nice idea. We'll be right back.
Add a touch of personality and panache to your next get-together. Watch Savoir Faire today at 1:30 Eastern on HGTV Daytime.
One anniversary card with 2 tickets to India inside, $3,500. Caravan to the Blue City, $64. Boat to the Palace on the Lake, $28. 25 years. More better than worse. Priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's Platinum MasterCard. With a high spending limit for the things that matter.
Design at 9. An hour of decorating ideas, information, and inspiration you can only get here. Tonight on Design at 9, Room by Room has tips for picking out everything from cabinets to insulation. Then,
on the next Decorating Sense, we will redecorate a so-so master bedroom, turning it into a cozy, charming cottage-style design with gingham checks and patchwork quilts.
it's all on Design at 9. Tonight at 9 on HGTV, Home and Garden Television.
We're about to get a lesson in toy collecting from a man who started out with just a few and collected so many that he started selling some of them and became a dealer. Well, he has some valuable experience to share with us about how to collect toys. One weekend every summer, the little town of Orinoco, Minnesota turns into a collectible hunter's paradise, where you can shop for merchandise from garage sale finds to valuable antiques. You can find some of each at this toy booth run by Robert Manella. He's a dealer who's been collecting toys for most of his adult life, and for good reason.
For Christmas, Mom and Dad would give us the Sears catalog so you can have $5 worth. And that was it. And then I had a friend down the block whose father worked for Sears. He got every toy I wanted, so now I'm getting them all.
All includes the ones he's willing to sell, too, like trucks, some worth a lot of money. Boxes of cards, planes, boats, well, sort of, and tin toys. I spotted these and decided I might just own a treasure, too. Now, this little toy, it's a Davy Crockett toy, has been in a closet for years. I think it's got to be worth something because look at this little stagecoach here with the horses. Doesn't this look like this? This one is marked $695. I think I have a treasure here. Let's find out. Robert.
Hi.
Hi, take a look at this. What do you think?
Want to sell it?
I don't know. What's it worth?
Well, maybe a different price, but no. This is a Line Mart toy made in Japan, really made by Marks. It's friction. It's worth about $125.
And it was how old is that?
During the 50s, when Davy Crockett was out.
Okay, so why isn't it worth as much as this one is?
This is an old bore. It's a German-made piece, and German pieces are just worth so much more. This would be worth even more if I didn't have had a door made for it.
Oh, so this is not the original door on this?
No, I have a toy restorer that we send these things to that does all, the restoration.
So in perfect condition, that would be worth how much?
Maybe $1,000, $900, $1,200, somewhere in that area.
Okay, well, I think I'll just hold on to this guy then. Maybe it'll go up in value.
Well, when you're ready to sell, call me.
Okay, thanks. Next, I asked Robert, in his expert opinion, what types of toys are ever popular with today's collectors.
Howdy Doody's always hot.
Yeah?
It just, someday when we all die, I suppose it'll drop, but I've sold it over the past 15 years.
Most valuable Howdy Doody thing you've ever seen?
Well, ever seen? Probably the cookie jar. I lost it at an auction. The other guy wanted to spend foolishly more money than I.
How much did he
I
spend?
think he got it for $600 or something.
I noticed Robert had a lot of vintage trucks for sale. I asked him if he thought they would stay popular with collectors.
Trucks are always good. Smith Millers right now, if you can get some of those, boy, just buy them. Buy them, the Elma X, that's the long-nosed ones. Any condition, get a hold of them. Because they're just very desirable, and they're made into a lot of different things by restorers. Buddy L's are always good. Tonkas.
Tonka trucks still good?
Tonkas are still good, except that the more common ones, the fire trucks and that, are dropping in value. The others are going up.
I'll say. Did you notice that Smith Miller was priced at $595? And this well-aged large truck, Robert told me, is a Turner Lincoln Pumper. He's asking $1,095, but he says he'll take $1,000. Of all the toys you have here today, what's selling the best?
The Star Wars.
Star Wars?
Star Wars. I'm selling more Star Wars than, this is the stuff.
Okay. And this is the stuff. Now, why do you think people are buying Star Wars?
Kids are enthralled with it. They're trying to get every figure. This stuff is relatively inexpensive because it's not in the pack. Some of these figures in the original pack would sell for $30 to $60. You know, these I sell them for $5, and I've got people just coming up here and buying everything that I have, and I'm going to be out of Star Wars business pretty soon.
So what do you think? Is it worth it?
I don't think so. They've already done millions of these. Why hang on to them?
So you figure the Star Wars collection is not going to send your kids through school?
Not at all.
No, okay. All right, now you're the expert. If I don't know anything about collecting toys, but I want to start, give me some advice.
Well, you're not going to like what I tell you.
What?
Don't spend $1 for anything until you know its value. If you go to a garage sale, only spend $1 for anything that's there.
Only spend $1?
Just $1.
Why?
Because you're going to spend too much money if you don't take my advice.
Did that happen to you?
Well, yes.
Really?
I mean, when I first started out, I bought a toy for $250, and I found out it was worth $50.
Oh.
And several times you have that lesson until you start saying, I better find out what I'm doing.
Once he learned the lesson, Robert decided toy collecting can be great fun and a good investment.
I think so, as long as you buy mint, in the box, the better condition, the better the investment. If you have a toy that you can buy for $300 out of the box and it costs $500 in the box and is mint, buy the one for $500.
And they are going to appreciate it.
So far they've been doing that.
All right, let me just ask you, just between us. Now, some people here say you shouldn't pay the asking price.
Oh, sure.
And some people say, absolutely, you must pay the asking price or it's insulting. What do you say?
Don't pay the asking price. We purposely overprice them because we know you want a deal.
And what kind of deal should I expect?
At least 10%.
Really?
Right.
Should I make you an offer or should I just say, can you do a little better on this?
Well, there's both styles. There's guys that come in and say, will you take this? And we say no, and then we begin to haggle. And some stuff we bought real reasonably and we can take more off, and others we can't. And, the best you're going to do is 10% on it.
But that doesn't insult you?
No.
It was funny to see a totally grown man here walking away talking about Tootsie Toys.
Yes.
What is it about toys that makes people want to collect them?
Well, we're recapturing our youth, of course. Most of us, a common story with toy collectors, I never had what I wanted for Christmas when I was young.
And so now they buy it.
Now they buy it.
A seasoned cop.
I'm a forensic psychologist.
And a crazed killer.
The board shows 8 women missing.
Are locked in a deadly game.
I broke the rules. Blame me.
That's about to get personal.
Naomi's missing. One of the women abducted was my niece.
Kiss the girls.
Homefront Live is a community TV forum for airing topics of importance in our towns. Charter Communications invites you to join us Tuesdays in September and October when Homefront Live will feature candidates for office from your area. This is a great chance to call in and speak directly with tomorrow's leaders. Look for Homefront Live on Charter Communications, ATV 21.
This is the Power Steamer Deep Cleaner from Bissell, and this is some very dirty carpet. Fortunately, the Power Steamer has Smart Mix to control the cleaning solution going in and an exclusive power brush to lift grimy particles out. So, it not only gets the dirt out of your carpet, the Bissell Power Steamer gets the really deep down dirt. Life's messy. Clean it up.
I'm Mariette Hartley, here to tell you the factory's on sale.
That's right, Mariette. The entire Premier Blind Factory is on sale with the lowest prices ever offered. Minis are on sale for as low as $14.95. The lowest prices on custom minis ever. And for the first time, Premier's verticals are on sale for as low as $29.95. The lowest prices in our history. But the biggest news? Premier's gorgeous New Forest blinds are on sale for as low as $29.95. These amazing New Forest wood look-alike blinds look so much like real wood, you can't tell the difference from 6 inches away. New forest blinds on sale now, starting at just $29.95, and it's easy to order. Just call 1-800-BLINDS-1, and Premier's operators will send you our free catalog. Plus, we'll ship your custom blinds absolutely free.
So, call 1-800-BLINDS-1 right now. The Premier Blind Factory. Only a real factory can sell blinds this low.
Nobody does it better.
Need a hand getting up? You don't have to hire a builder to get dependable bath safety. Plumpack makes independence easy with the interlock handlebar system. And everything you need is included for a custom grab bar installation. You really can do it yourself with Plumpack.
This is the part of our show where we feature rare and one-of-a-kind collectibles. First, we're going to take a look at one of our nation's collectibles. It's Abraham Lincoln's top hat. Now, this is the hat he was wearing the night of his assassination. The hat is part of the Smithsonian's traveling exhibition, which has been bringing some of our nation's treasures on a cross-country tour. Until this exhibit, Lincoln's hat hadn't been on public display for years. This is one of the crown jewels of the Smithsonian's collection. It's the hat that Abraham Lincoln wore to Ford's Theater the night he was shot by John Wilkes Booth. That was over 130 years ago. Originally, the hat was shaped out of cardboard and covered with a simulated fur, but it's shed considerably over the years. The hat sits in an earthquake-proof case that is humidity-controlled. The fragile, priceless gem has a magical power that commands reverence from all who see it. Another of our nation's collectibles are these portraits of George and Martha Washington, painted by Rembrandt Peale, probably in 1853. Peale originally painted George Washington in 1795. Then later in his career, he painted many more portraits of Washington based on the original sitting. Peale painted Martha from an original that was done by his father, Charles Wilson Peale, in 1795. These two companion pieces commemorating the father and first lady of our country hang in the National Portrait Gallery. They're called porthole portraits because of their interesting stonework frames. Now, at the other end of the spectrum, we have a collector who's turned a common household item into a funky and offbeat collection. She collects ashtrays, but not just any ashtrays. They have to be ugly ashtrays. These colorful ashtrays are a sign of the times that have come and gone. Millie Vaccarella and her son collect these pieces for fun. They call them their ugly ashtrays. What else?
Well, most of them are from the 50s, 60s, maybe some from the 70s, when they were the large, rather boomerang-type shapes and extremely large and rather gaudy 50s, 60s colors. Certain of the ashtrays already are rather valuable because of the name of the pottery, like red wing pottery made ashtrays, which were rather in the mold of the ugly ashtrays, and a lot of them were made by California Original Company, and those have a certain amount of value from the pottery standpoint. We usually find these at flea markets, garage sales, inexpensive places. Well, we're paying 50 cents, $1, $1.50. Occasionally, if it's really ugly, we may go $2. But that's our limit.
Now that's an unusual collection. Can you imagine a house full of those? Talk about a time warp. Stay with us. More collectible treasures just ahead.
Coming up next on HGTV Daytime.
On the next Homegrown Cooking, don't be afraid of sushi. It's fun and easy to make. I'll whip up a sushi sampler and some tempting tempura. Watch this one.
Have fun with your food. Don't miss Paul James' Homegrown Cooking. Coming up next on HGTV Daytime.
Visit with Carol's friends and neighbors. Watch Crackers Country, up north with Carol Duvall. Wednesday night at 10 on HGTV, Home and Garden Television.
There's a new line of benchtop and stationary tools out there from Rigid.
a name professionals have trusted since 1923. Built to last, each one carries a lifetime warranty. Engineered for the serious woodworker to be the finest tools available. But there's one thing you should know. You're probably going to want a bigger garage. Rigid Tools, now at the Home Depot.
Russell Stover introduces Looney Tunes treats. Snack-sized candy bars, peanuts and nougat, or Krispies and caramel, covered in milk chocolate, surrounded by Looney Tunes stars. Get Russell Stover Looney Tunes treats, a world of fun in every bite.
For the 14 million women who worry about light to moderate bladder control, now there's new Double Protection Compose Panty and Pad System. The Compose Panty and Pad fit together for double protection. There's a super absorbent disposable pad, but the real difference is the separate washable panty. It gives you double protection with a quilted panel that won't let wetness through. So why worry? Get double protection with Double Protection Compose. Protection that goes beyond the pad.
Every day he watches and waits. He takes notes of when people leave and when they return, when the lights go on and when they go off, and he's especially fond of welcoming newcomers. As part of burglary prevention season, Intermatic is offering home security timers designed to confuse criminals by alternating when your lights go on, creating a lived-in look while you're away. The threat is real, but so is the protection. Intermatic home security timers, your beacon in the night.
Guess what? New Love My Carpet Rug and Room Deodorizer has a patented dirt-resistant formula that keeps carpets cleaner. And a lot more attractive. Get rid of odors and keep your carpets cleaner with new Love My Carpet from Wizard.
Spectracide Grass and Weed Killer works in 24 hours. The other brand takes a little longer. Actually, a lot longer. Spectracide works in hours, not days. That's why weeds can't hide from Spectracide.
To you, it's your castle. To millions of termites, it's the all-you-can-eat buffet. But now there's new Terminate from Spectracide. Do-it-yourself termite protection for a fraction of the cost of professionals. Before it's too late, terminate.
A list of collectibles associations is available on our website at www.hgtv.com or send a self-addressed stamped business-size envelope to Collectible Treasures, Box 50970, Knoxville, Tennessee 37950. Please include the episode number on the outside of both envelopes.
Chinese porcelain has been a highly valued collectible for centuries. Well, today we're going to show you what to look for if you find a piece at home that might make it a real treasure. Robert Riesberg is our expert antiques dealer from St. Paul. Hi, Bob.
Hello, Sharon.
Now, you've brought with you a piece of Chinese porcelain. It's obviously old, but when I look at this piece, I see this huge crack that goes all the way around it, and it's been repaired with staples. To me, that indicates that it's not worth much.
Well, yes, Sharon. That would usually indicate that something wouldn't be worth much by the 20th century standard.
Right.
But by 19th century standards, what it does is show you that somebody thought enough of this and thought it valuable enough to have it repaired.
So this is an old technique of repair, these staples?
Yes, it's something that was used through the 18th and early 19th century to repair objects like this that one would still want to use because of their important nature. And this can still hold water and be used as a gravy boat, just as it originally was.
And the staples indicate that it was repaired what era?
Oh, I'd say generally when we see this staple repair, it indicates the era before about 1850s, before the 1860s.
So this is over 100 years old.
Yes, if you find something that's been repaired in this manner, you think that perhaps you have a treasure on your hands.
Interesting. Now, price-wise, what would this be worth if it were perfect?
Well, I would say about $500 or $600. Repaired like this, under $200.
So it's still a treasure?
Oh, yes.
Yes, so if you have something around your house that is repaired in this way, you might take it to a museum or a dealer and find out if it's a treasure, too. Thank you, Bob, for the lesson.
Thank you, Sharon.
Fascinating. And thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time on Collectible Treasures. Would this have come in a whole set? Would it look like this? Have you seen it?
And now, here's HGTV's calendar of events for October 23rd through October 31st. This calendar of events has been brought to you by HGTV, Home and Garden Television. HGTV Daytime continues with Paul James Homegrown Cooking, followed by Savoir Faire, only on Home and Garden Television.
Hi, I'm Paul James. On today's Homegrown Cooking, I'm going to stir up some great dishes from across the